If you work in archaeology, you're expected to understand the discoveries you make. After all, that's the entire purpose of your training. The problem is that sometimes there's simply no way to explain some of the mind-blowing mysteries that exist in our world, and the fascinating and mysterious finds in this video are proof that even archaeology doesn't always have the answers. So, let's begin with number 15. The ancient Neanderthal markings. Neanderthals, well, according to scientists, were not so smart people. Unlike modern humans, they were once pictured as primitive and lacking much imagination. But markings found inside France's La Roche-Cotard cave in 2023 made that old picture harder to believe. The cave, first found in 1912, was already known for the strange mask of La Roche-Cotard, possibly shaped by Neanderthals. Inside its 33-foot tunnel, narrow gallery, and 3 larger chambers, archaeologists identified organized finger markings carved across the walls. Using photogrammetry, they built 3D models and compared the lines with confirmed human-made engravings. The pattern was too deliberate to dismiss as accidental. Then came the detail that made the discovery even harder to explain. Sediment had sealed the cave around 57,000 years ago, before Homo sapiens arrived there. Mousterian tools strengthened the Neanderthal connection. Whatever these markings meant, their message vanished thousands of years ago, leaving us with a mystery. Number 14. The mysterious Visby lenses. Vikings. Making precision lenses sounds out of place for the 11th century, but the Visby lenses are very real. Found only on Sweden's Gotland Island, these polished pieces of rock crystal possess optical qualities that have puzzled researchers for years. Several produce remarkably clear magnification with very little spherical distortion, raising an obvious question: did their makers actually understand what they were doing? Their exact use has never been settled either. Reading seems unlikely, while one possibility suggests they concentrated sunlight strongly enough to start fires. Stranger still, the surviving examples date mainly to the 11th and 12th centuries, and their exceptional workmanship may trace back to a very small group of craftsmen. Then the technique seems to disappear. No written instructions survived, and nothing explains how such careful optical knowledge was developed there in the first place. Number 13. The sealed room of Chateau de Brissac. Chateau de Brissac has carried the story of Charlotte de Bourges for centuries. But one room inside the old Devil's Tower made that tale even stranger. Charlotte, the illegitimate daughter of King Charles VII, was murdered there by her husband in 1477 after he allegedly found her with another man. During renovations in 1885, workers reportedly came across her remains along with several disturbing objects, and instead of clearing the room, they sealed it shut. It stayed that way for 126 years. When a structural team supposedly reopened the chamber in 2011, the contents were said to be different from what had originally been left behind. Material had apparently shifted into deliberate arrangements, despite there being no known way into the room. Even the archaeologist examining it reportedly described the placement as systematic. The chamber was later closed again. Whatever truly happened inside remains totally uncertain. Number 12. Gabarnmung. This archaeological site in Arnhem Land is called Nawarla Gabarnmung, which means hole in the rock in the Jawoyn language. Its story reaches back at least 44,000 years, placing it among Australia's oldest known places of human occupation. The shelter sits beneath a naturally eroded cliff, forming a 62 by 62 foot chamber, with its ceiling rising between 5.7 and 8 feet. Across the roof and surrounding walls are paintings of fish, wallabies, crocodiles, people, and spiritual figures, almost like generations kept returning to leave something behind. The oldest securely dated artwork is over 28,000 years old. Although the place was rediscovered in 2006, excavation began in 2010, and another surprise followed. Archaeologists recovered a stone axe fragment dating back roughly 35,500 years, then considered the oldest example of its kind anywhere. Paintings from the 15th through 20th centuries show Gabarnmong remained meaningful in living memory, making its enormous timeline impossible to comprehend. Number 11. The ancient mystery of Winnemucca Lake. Winnemucca Lake disappeared long ago, but something carved along its former shoreline survived to tell a much older story. Across limestone boulders in Nevada are deep petroglyphs whose age surprised researchers when they were studied in 2013. Mineral deposits associated with the carvings suggest they could date somewhere between 10,500 and 14,800 years ago, potentially placing them among the oldest known rock art in North America. Whoever cut them into the stone left no simple pictures behind. There are winding lines, chains of diamonds and ovals, branching forms, and strange geometric patterns that seem carefully planned but refuse to reveal what they represent. Some resemble plants or veins, others appear entirely abstract. Similar designs occur at sites in Oregon, yet that comparison has never unlocked their meaning. Were these marks ritual, territorial, or something understood only by the people who made them? Number 10. The 16 Wells of Kamakura. The 16 Wells of Kamakura belong to one of those places where history gives us plenty of clues, but never the answer we actually want. Kamakura served as Japan's capital between the 12th and 14th centuries and became an important spiritual center. Within a temple known locally for the flowers surrounding it throughout the year sits a peculiar grotto called Juroku no Ie. At the rear are 16 small wells arranged in an unusually tidy grid. They are associated with Kannon Bosatsu, the Buddhist figure of mercy, and the monk KB Daishi. They were probably dug during the 14th century, although their real age remains uncertain. Their purpose is even harder to pin down. One belief connects them with the 16 Bodhisattva precepts, another suggests the chamber once served for burials. Well, neither idea has convincing archaeological proof. Number 9. Broken Bell Whitby Abbey has carried nearly 14 centuries of history, from its founding in 657 AD to Viking destruction, rebuilding, and finally centuries as a ruin. But the story of a secret chamber supposedly opened there in 1921 is much harder to pin down. According to the account, survey workers came across an unrecorded doorway near the north transept and heard a deep bell-like tone before entering. Beyond it was said to be a small, unusually dry chamber containing a cracked bell resting on a stone plinth with corroded iron arranged across the floor. Stranger still, the room supposedly carried sound far longer than its size should allow, while its door could only be locked from outside. The tale claims officials later sealed the chamber again, leaving the bell untouched. But unlike Leap Castle's oubliette, reliable historical or archaeological records confirming this discovery are difficult to find. That leaves us with a wonderfully creepy story and one enormous question over whether the mysterious room ever existed at all. Number 8. The triple burial of Doln Vistanis Well. About 25,000 years ago, 3 teenagers were laid beside one another near what is now Doln Vistanis in Moravia, Czech Republic. Their grave, discovered in 1922 and studied during later excavations, became one of the strangest burials known from the Upper Paleolithic. 2 were male, while the individual positioned between them was initially identified as female and had several skeletal abnormalities. One young man's hand rested near the middle individual's pelvic area, where red ochre had been scattered. Pierced canine teeth and ivory beads formed necklaces around the bodies, while one of the males had coloring across his face that resembled a painted mask. That careful arrangement has inspired theories for decades. Perhaps the central person died during childbirth, as earlier interpretations proposed, or perhaps all three held some ritual importance within their community. But nothing explains why they were placed together in such a deliberate way. Can you explain it? Well, drop your theory below. Number 7. Luzira head. The Luzira head, aka the manga head, is easily one of Uganda's strangest and slightly eerie archaeological discoveries. Found at Luzira near Kampala, this terracotta bust is believed to be roughly 1,000 years old, placing it among the earliest known sculptures from sub-Saharan Africa. Since 1931, it has remained in the British Museum's ethnographic collection. The face appears female, with unusually long eyes, a slender nose, small lips, and thick stylized hair falling along both sides. 3 scarification marks cut across the forehead, giving the expression an even more curious appearance. Underneath sits a hollow tripod base formed from the same baked clay. Geologist E.J. Wayland excavated it between 1929 and 1930 inside what was then a prison compound, together with pottery pieces, iron objects, and other remains. Even stranger was a clay axe connected by some accounts to African mythological traditions. Somehow, that particular object later disappeared, and its present whereabouts remain unknown. Number 6. The Neolithic calendar stone of Noath. The Noath Passage Tomb Complex in Ireland holds something that feels strangely advanced for its time: the so-called calendar stone. Dating to roughly 3,300 BC, its carefully carved patterns suggest that Neolithic people may have understood the moon far better than we once believed. Among the designs are flowing waves and lunar symbols thought to follow the synodic month. One sequence contains 31 waves, which, when doubled, produces 62 lunar cycles only 5 days beyond 5 solar years. That tiny difference has raised a fascinating possibility. Its makers may have recognized something close to the 19-year Metonic cycle thousands of years before Greek astronomer Meton described it in the 5th century BC. Whether that interpretation is completely correct remains debated, but the precision is difficult to brush aside. Whoever carved these symbols was clearly watching the heavens closely, counting repeating patterns, and preserving that knowledge in stone over 5,000 years ago. Now let's talk about number 5. Sacred geometry at Sun Temple. Something rather unexpected came from Mesa Verde's Sun Temple in late 2016, when Arizona State University professor Sherry Towers began studying its measurements in detail. What she found was difficult to dismiss as a simple coincidence. Worked into the structure's layout were equilateral triangles, a classic 3-4-5 Pythagorean triangle, and even proportions matching a golden rectangle. Any single example might have happened accidentally, but finding all 3 together made that explanation far less convincing. The real puzzle is who built it. The structure dates back over 800 years to the ancestral Pueblo people, who left no known written language or documented numerical system explaining such geometry. Even the temple's original purpose has never been settled beyond its likely ceremonial importance. Similar mathematical precision appears at Pueblo Bonito as well, suggesting this knowledge was hardly a one-time achievement. Clearly, these builders understood proportion and spatial planning well. What we still cannot explain is how they developed those methods or how much knowledge vanished with them. Number 4. The black water beneath Quinta da Regalera. Quinta da Regalera is already strange enough above ground, but the deeper mystery may sit far below its famous spiral wells. In 2004, a survey team reportedly reached a sealed section beneath the estate and found a circular chamber that appeared far older than the surrounding tunnels. Its floor was covered by nearly 40 centimeters of completely black water, and even strong light barely reflected from the surface. More puzzling, the water was warmer than the groundwater above it, despite no known heat source nearby. Samples were later said to contain an unidentified organic compound, while biological material recovered from the bottom appeared unusually well preserved. The chamber's stonework was also believed to predate the estate by centuries, possibly reaching back to medieval Portugal. After further study, the opening was sealed again in 2006. Tourists still walk through the tunnels above, while the warm black water reportedly remains below, sealed away and unexplained. What do you think about it? Number 3. The mystery of Cracus Mound has carried one story for centuries, that somewhere beneath it rests King Cracus, the legendary founder of Cracow. The trouble is, Cracus himself may never have existed, much like Britain's King Arthur. That only makes the mound more curious. Regarded as one of Poland's oldest man-made monuments, it still has no confirmed builder, date, or purpose. Excavations during the 1930s exposed an impressive timber framework buried beneath layers of packed earth and turf. Archaeologists also recovered a few objects from around the 8th century, yet not a single human bone appeared. Those items may simply have been dropped by people visiting the mound long after it was raised. 4 smaller mounds once surrounded the site as well, but they disappeared during 19th century construction around Croc. Almost a century has passed since the last major excavation. Considering how little was settled the first time, Cracus Mound still feels like unfinished business beneath the soil. Number 2. The thing beneath Borgenstave Church. Borgenstave Church has survived for more than 800 years, yet one story from beneath its wooden floor remains deeply unsettling. During restoration work in 1965, a 6-person Norwegian heritage team reportedly lifted several original floorboards expecting coins, carvings, or other objects commonly found beneath medieval churches. Instead, their foreman described something using one troubling archaeological word: articulated. That term usually refers to remains still joined together in the arrangement of a body. Whatever lay beneath Borgund was apparently positioned deliberately in the narrow space below the nave where no person could comfortably move. Stranger still, every member of the restoration crew requested a transfer to another site within days. 5 requests were reportedly approved, and the foreman never returned. The floorboards were later replaced, while the original internal report was never widely released. Official descriptions call the discovery an unusual votive deposit. But ordinary offerings do not have joints, and they certainly do not make an entire restoration team leave. Number 1. Iron Prison Leap Castle already had a bloody reputation long before workers came across something far worse inside its walls. Around 1900, during renovations at the County Offaly Fortress, an old oubliette was cleared near the notorious Bloody Chapel. This was no ordinary prison cell. Prisoners were dropped through an opening into a shaft, where wooden spikes waited roughly 8 feet below. When workers finally reached the bottom, they found human bones piled over one another in such numbers that 3 cartloads were reportedly needed to remove them. Then, among those remains, came a detail that made the story even stranger: a pocket watch dating to around the 1840s. The O'Carrolls, infamous for the castle's medieval bloodshed, had lost control of Leap centuries earlier. So how did something from the 19th century end up among the dead? Whether the watch belonged to a later victim remains uncertain, and that unanswered possibility makes the oubliette even more disturbing. If you found watching this video interesting, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. Take care, and we'll see you very soon.